What we're going to do now is learn how to solve some basic absolute value equations. Okay, so the first one we have is the absolute value of x equals 9. So I want to picture this on a number line real quick, just so we can see why we do what we do. If I have a number line, here's 0, I want to figure out what number is 9 away from 0. Okay, so obviously 9 is going to be 9 away from 0, but that's not the only number. Okay, negative 9 is also 9 away from 0. So technically, we have two answers here. Okay, absolute value equations all work in the same way. So when you're solving an absolute value equation, the first thing you always want to do is get the absolute value by itself. Get the absolute value to be the only thing on one side of your equal sign. If you look at this example, it already is. So from there, you're going to break it into two equations. Okay, so you're going to take away the absolute value bars, and then you're going to have a positive case. Your positive case is always exactly what it was before. So on our right side, we just have 9. That stays the same. Your second case, okay, because we said two cases, we are going to have two answers, is the negative case. So we had our positive 9, now we have to get our negative 9. So what you do, take away the absolute value bars just like you did, and then make everything on the other side negative. So in this case, it'll be negative 9. Now, in more complex problems, you'll have to solve from x from here, but in this case, x is already by itself. So your two answers are 9 and negative 9. You do always want to plug your answers back in just to double check, but I'm going to do it verbally in this case because it's so simple. So if I plug 9 back in, the absolute value of 9 is equal to 9, so this one works. Then I'm going to plug this one in. The absolute value of negative 9 is also 9, so this one works as well. They both check out. Okay. Now we're going to try one little more complex. All right. So like I said, the first thing you always want to do is get your absolute value by itself. Isolate the absolute value. So we want to get this right here by itself. If you notice, this plus 3 right here is in the way of that. Okay. So I need to get rid of this plus 3. So to get rid of a plus 3, I'm going to subtract 3. Minus 3, minus 3. So that leaves me with the absolute value of x equal to 6. Now that the absolute value is by itself, it's isolated, I can break into my two cases. So like I said before, my first case is going to be my positive case. It's going to look exactly like this without the absolute value. So I'm going to have x equals 6. All right, then you need your second case. You always need two cases. Your second case is your negative case. So this side stays the same. Just take away the absolute value bars. And over here, we're going to make it negative. So this becomes negative 6. Okay? So your two answers are 6 and negative 6. But like we did over here, we always need to check. So real quickly, we'll check this. We have the absolute value of 6 plus 3 equal to 9. Well, the absolute value of 6 is 6. 6 plus 3, that does equal 9, so this one checks out. And then we're going to do the same thing over here. We have the absolute value of negative 6 plus 3 equal to 9. Well, the absolute value of negative 6 is a positive 6. Positive 6 plus 3, that equals 9. 9 equals 9. It also checks out. So our two answers are 6 and negative 6. Okay. Now this one, slightly different, but the same process. So like we did before, first thing we want to do is isolate the absolute value. Okay. So if you notice, the absolute value is already isolated. There's something inside of it, but that's okay. All right. As long as there's nothing outside of the absolute value on this side of our equal sign. So from here, what we're going to do is break into our two cases, just like we've been doing. Okay, so my first case, I'm just going to take away my absolute value bars. X plus 2 is equal to 6. My second case, I'm going to take away my absolute value bars, x plus 2, but then I'm going to make the other side negative. So this becomes -6. -6. Now, unlike before, x is not already by itself, so now we just solve. To get rid of a +2, I'm going to -2. 6 minus 2, that gives me 4. So I have x equals 4. Okay, now I'm going to solve this one. Again, to get rid of a +2, I'm going to subtract 2, -2. -6 minus 2 is -8. So this gives me x equals -8. And just like we've been doing, we do need to check this. So very quickly, we'll check it. So I'm just going to take my values and plug it into the original equation. All right, so the absolute value of 4 plus 2 equal to 6. All right, well, 4 plus 2 is 6. Does the absolute value of 6 equal 6? Yes, it does, so it checks out. Now let's look at the second one. Again, we're going to plug this value into the original equation. So I'm going to take -8. -8 plus 2 equal to 6. Well, -8 plus 2, that is -6. Is the absolute value of -6 6? Yes, it is. So this one checks out as well. So we have two answers, 4 and -8. Okay. We can do one more. This one is a little more complex, but just like we've been doing, the very first thing we want to do is get the absolute value by itself. Okay. Now, if you notice, the only thing in the way of the absolute value being by itself is this +8. So to get rid of this +8, I'm just going to go -8, -8. So this leaves me with the absolute value of 3x minus 2 equal to 1 minus 8. That's going to give me a -7. But I want to stop right here and think about this for a second. Can the absolute value equal a negative number? Okay. Absolute value is the distance from 0. Distance can't be negative. Therefore, absolute value can't be negative. So if you ever have a problem where it says the absolute value of something is equal to a negative number, it simply can't be true. So when that is the case, you have no solution. Okay? So if you isolate your absolute value, notice we got the absolute value by itself, and it is equal to a negative number, your answer is no solution, because absolute value cannot equal a negative number.